If you're very introverted, why not watch this Oscar-nominated healing short film, The Burrow? This rabbit is trying to dig a home for himself. Measure the size and look at the drawing of your own design, and hold it in your arms with love. Just then, turf fell from the wall next to it. He was about to dig down when a head appeared in the wall. Seeing the rabbit in front of him, Gopher shook hands with him happily and showed him the drawings of his own design. And both his own and his companion's home were about to be completed. Rabbit looked at oneself drawings and thought oneself design was a bit too simple. But then a little mouse head came out of the other wall and showed him his drawing, and showed him his home where his family was playing happily. The rabbit clutched his drawings in shame. Mice and gophers want to see the drawings of his designs and help him improve them. But the bunny panicked and ducked into a corner. Hiding drawing behind him, he gathered up the few belongings he had and grabbed a shovel and dug down to abandon the place. He kept digging down, and halfway down, he looked at his drawings and regained his confidence, but he didn't realize that he had dug his way into someone else's house. This family didn't blame him and gave him some delicious freshly baked food, but the rabbit was embarrassed and headed for the door. Once outside the gate and having discerned the direction, the search for a suitable place to settle down continued. Unexpectedly, he burrowed back into the frog's house, fell to the floor with the cauldron, and fled the room in embarrassment. Continue digging. I accidentally came to the lizard's bathroom and fell into the bathtub. Covering his eyes, he fell back into the sauna below and finally into the locker room. With a red face, he opened the door and escaped, and continued digging. After a few turns, he arrived at the ant's home. The ants celebrate, and he embarrassingly digs a hole and escapes. This time he avoided all the holes and came to a spacious hole in the ground. But the shovel was broken in two. He tried to knock on the door to borrow a shovel, but the terrible roar inside scared him so much that it dug a hole and escaped. And so he dug and dug and dug. Don't know how long or how deep he dug, but he finally stopped. He took out the design drawings and looked at them before clutching them tightly in his arms. He was ready to settle down here. Shoveled it down hard. Countless cracks began to spread and finally connected to the underground river. The river flowed down the hole in the wall, and the rabbit looked at it curiously. The next moment the river spurted out, and he himself was swept to the ground. Grabbing the drawing that was about to fall into the water, he tried to stop the flow of water with his hands, but the flow of water became bigger and bigger, and the cracks became bigger and bigger. The vibrations generated reached the homes of the residents above. Seeing the rising river, a rabbit finally made a decision. Gripping the drawing in his hand, he climbed upwards and finally opened the terrifying door, telling the fair badger in front of him about his accidental digging out of the river. Then he sat down on the ground in despair. There was nothing he could do in the face of such a thing. Fair badger picked up the design drawings on the floor and handed them to Bunny. The rabbit took the drawing with tears in his eyes and looked at Mr. Fair Badger with anticipation. Fair Badger lifted his breath hard and blew away the rabbit with a roar, but the roar reached the homes in the neighborhood. At that moment, the rabbit suddenly looked shyly at the back of the house, where a group of residents had arrived with their tools. The rabbit stepped back in fear, but Mr. Fair Badger pushed him back. Embarrassed, the rabbit rushed off with them to the disaster site. Everyone quickly blocked the original hole in the ground and diverted the river in the other direction. The underground river was successfully diverted to the lake on the surface. The critters also collapsed in exhaustion, but the next moment they cheered again. The rabbit looked at all this and picked up his drawing and looked at it with a frown. He called out to the animals as they were about to leave. Embarrassed, he pulled out the drawings of his own design hidden behind his back and showed them to everyone. After everyone's improvement, a more luxurious drawing was created. Everyone helped him to build his home. He was happy to see that everything was almost finished. He went to the ground and secured the mailbox, and the home of his dreams was complete. The rabbit clutched the plans, which were the result of everyone's efforts, into his arms. He was no longer afraid to talk to people.